There's no way a poor guy in work clothes like you can afford a car from here. Yeah, but even if you say that, I plan to buy one. Sorry, sir. All the cars just sold out. Go home already. The salesperson waved his hand dismissively, shooing me away. I see. That's how you treat customers. It's a shame you missed a chance to boost your sales. After saying, then made a call to someone. No way. The salesperson's face turned pale and froze. My name is Chris Miller. I'm 61 years old. I live with my wife and run a farm I inherited from my in-laws. Surrounded by mountains and fresh air, I've completely adapted to this rural life. Now, I can't imagine living anywhere else. The first few years after inheriting the farm from my in-laws were tough. At first, my father-in-law was there to guide me, but soon after I took over, both he and my mother-in-law passed away. From then on, my wife and I had to manage the farm alone, and there were times when we struggled just to make ends meet. However, my wife and I never gave up. We worked together tirelessly, believing that things would eventually get better, and now we live a stable life. Originally, I was a businessman until 10 years ago, but due to certain circumstances, I couldn't continue. It was because of one particular person. Chris, you're completely useless. I had no idea a high school graduate could be this incompetent. It was my boss, Tom, who said this with a sarcastic smile. Tom is 5 years younger than me, but he's an elite who graduated from the top university in US and rose through the ranks faster than I did. As a high school graduate, it was tough for me to get promoted, and I was never the type to aggressively seek promotions, so I remain a regular employee. I found more fulfillment in quietly handling the tasks that everyone else disliked. Aren't you embarrassed to be ridiculed by someone younger than you? Well, I guess someone with just a high school diploma wouldn't have any pride. How do you manage to come to work every day in a company full of college graduates without any shame? Tom laughed obnoxiously as he said this. I endured daily mockery and insults from Tom, but I never talked back. It was true that I only had a high school diploma, and he was my boss. I believed that as a businessman, no matter how unreasonable it was, I had to silently follow the orders from senior. So, I always bit my tongue and endured. One day, the manager called Tom with an extremely angry look. Hey Tom, what is this? Making such a basic mistake. Do your job properly. When the manager shouted this, Tom immediately said, Manager, I wasn't in charge of that document. I had a sudden meeting yesterday and couldn't prepare it, so I asked Chris to do it. I couldn't believe my ears. I had no memory of Tom asking me to prepare any documents. Sorry. I looked up in surprise, only to see the manager glaring at me like a demon. At that moment, I didn't miss Tom's brief smirk. Tom, Chris, come with me. Yes, what is it? I timidly followed the manager. In contrast to my gloomy mood, Tom next to me looked completely at ease. What's going on? Making such a mistake. You're completely useless. This is why high school graduates. Even the manager said the same thing as Tom. I was well aware that, in this company full of college graduates, everyone looked down on me, a high school graduate. Still, hearing it out loud really hurt. No, manager, I didn't make that document. I began to say, Manager, since that's the case, may I get back to work? Sure, go ahead. Chris, I'll leave it to you then. After that, I was scolded endlessly by the manager. Tom walked away as if nothing had happened. Following the manager's instructions, I had to redo the document. With a deep sigh, I turned to my computer, only for Tom to come over with a smirk, carrying a pile of documents. He dropped them on my desk with a thud. Chris, I need you to finish these by the end of the day. But I have to redo the document the manager asked for. It's going to be hard to finish all this today. Excuse me, who do you think you are, talking back to me? You can stay after work to finish it. But don't charge overtime. If you do, The manager will get mad at me. Got it. Without listening to my protest, Tom walked away. Left with no choice, I worked until the last train to finish the tasks he dumped on me. I rushed out of the office, hurrying towards the station. This is bad. If I don't hurry, I'll miss the last train. I started to jog, my legs feeling as heavy as lead. When I finally sat down on the train, I felt like I never wanted to get up again. That's how exhausted I was. When I got home, my wife Jennifer was waiting up for me. Welcome back. You must have had a hard time working late. You must be exhausted. The bath is ready. Thank you. You don't look well. Are you feeling okay? Are you sick? I'm fine, don't worry. I told Jennifer that, but in reality, I had lost my appetite recently and wasn't sleeping well at night. If I told her the truth, she would worry a lot. So I pretended to be fine. The next morning, I managed to get a little sleep, but I still felt completely drained. Even so, I had to go to work. Dragging my heavy body, I headed to the office. As soon as I arrived, Tom made a snide remark. Chris, you look miserable. It's bad enough you can't do your job, but seeing your face makes it worse. The young female employees nearby giggled. I ignored Tom and the women, focusing on my work. That day, I had to make a lot of copies and was wrestling with the copier. Suddenly, it jammed, displaying an error message. Oh no, just what I needed. As I opened the copier to fix it, Tom walked over. What are you doing? Chris, can't you even make copies? Even middle schoolers can handle that nowadays. Hey everyone, listen up. Chris can't even make copies. Tom laughed loudly, announcing to the entire office. Laughter echoed from all corners of the floor. I was filled with shame and frustration. Why do I have to go through this? What did I ever do to deserve this? I muttered this to myself, clenching my teeth as I continued to fix the copier. After that, I don't remember much. By the time I realized it, I had finished work and was home. That night, as I lay in bed, thinking about work the next day, I felt depressed. I didn't want to go to work anymore. I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to stay in bed forever. I wished morning would never come. I closed my eyes, praying for that. The next morning, while drinking coffee at breakfast, Jennifer said, "You're not yourself. You barely ate dinner last night or breakfast this morning. You've been losing weight. Let's go to the hospital soon, please." I'm fine. Even as I said that, I felt something was wrong with me lately. As I left the house to go to work as usual, I suddenly felt dizzy and stumbled. I didn't fall, but Jennifer rushed over, begging me to take the day off. I finally agreed. We decided to go to the hospital just in case. The diagnosis was depression. The doctor told me to take a break from work for a while. Chris, you're under a lot of stress right now. Your mind and body are exhausted. You need some rest. Yes. Although the diagnosis was unexpected, I quickly understood. Working in that environment every day had finally broken my spirit. On the way home from the hospital, my wife said, "Hey, Chris, instead of just taking a break, why don't you quit the company? My parents run a farm in the countryside, but they're getting old and thinking about selling the land. They've been working those fields for decades and don't want to hand them over to strangers. But I'm a sole child and can't take over. So, how about we run the farm together? I know farming is hard, but I don't think city life suits you. Why not try living a peaceful life in the countryside?" I was surprised by her sudden suggestion, but I remembered the peaceful scenery of her parents' place and thought it might not be a bad idea. Indeed, the corporate ladder and city life might not suit me. This could be a good opportunity. Thinking that, I decided to take Jennifer's proposal. Even though it seemed reckless, I felt a certain confidence that we could make it together. The next day, I went to submit my resignation. Even at this point, Tom continued to mock me. "Chris, you're like typical loser. He laughed as he said that. But Tom's words no longer reached my ears. My heart had already started moving towards a new life. Tom, thank you for everything. Working with you has been a valuable experience. Thank you. I smiled and greeted to Tom. He looked shocked and started to say, Chris, but seemed at a loss for words. I left the company without saying anything more. Thus began our life in farming. Every day, dressed in work clothes and covered in mud, we tend to the fields. There is no rest for a farmer. Yet, I feel much more satisfied than I ever did as a businessman. It's a satisfying kind of fatigue. A while after moving to the countryside, I found myself completely healthy, both mentally and physically. It's all thanks to Jennifer's suggestion back then that I am who I am now. I have nothing but gratitude for Jennifer, who has always supported me. 10 years after moving, our life has stabilized, and I decided it was time to buy a new car for personal use. Aside from the farm truck, I wanted to treat Jennifer to a car with the best comfort possible. I had already done some preliminary checks and thought today might be a good time for a test drive if things aligned. Excited, I headed to the city dealer. As I arrived at the dealership and was about to enter, a salesman came out to greet me. "Welcome, sir," he said politely, but immediately changed to a puzzled look upon seeing me. He looked me up and down, scrutinizing my appearance. For a moment, I was confused by his change in demeanor, but then I remembered I had come straight from the fields in my work clothes. I didn't have time to change cloths after farming today, and my clothes were splattered with mud. The previous times I came to check out cars, the salesperson who assisted me understood my situation, but it seemed he wasn't there today. As I was thinking about this, the next moment, both the salesman and I realized something at the same time. It was a face I never wanted to see again. The face of the man who wrecked my mind and body. Bitter memories I wanted to forget resurfaced. It was Tom, the man who tormented me during my days as a businessman. He drove me to the brink, causing my mental breakdown. I never thought I'd see him again, let alone here. "Chris, what are you doing in a place like this?" "Tom, what are you doing here?" After all that, I was scouted for my skills and brought to this company. I'm now their top salesperson. And you, Chris, what's with those filthy clothes? I heard rumors you became a farmer. That's a perfect job for a lowly high school grad like you. What are you doing in a luxury car dealership? I'm here to buy a car. What? Don't be ridiculous. Do you even know how much these cars cost? Tom laughed loudly. This shop wasn't doing well, so they called me top salesperson to help. I've got a huge responsibility to boost sales. They rely on me a lot, but for someone like me, it's a piece of cake. Even without being asked, Tom went on and on about himself. Then he looked me up and down again, snorting in disdain. A poor guy in work clothes like you could never afford a car here. Get out of here. Yeah, but even if you say that, I plan to buy a car from here. When I said that again, Tom replied, Sorry, sir, all the cars just sold out. He waved his hand dismissively, shooing me away. At that moment, I felt something snap inside me. I had tolerated everything he said before, but now he wasn't my boss. I was his customer. Oh, really? I see. So that's how you treat customers. Well then, please cancel the order for the 20 cars I reserved here. Too bad, Tom. You missed a great chance to boost your sales. What? What are you talking about? I don't understand. Tom looked confused. I think you'll understand by tomorrow. Well, I'll be going now. Goodbye. Without waiting for him to shoo me away, I headed for the exit. I could feel Tom standing there, stunned. As soon as I left the dealership, I took out my phone and called someone. The next morning, the doorbell rang. When I opened the door, there stood the branch manager of the car manufacturer and Tom. Mr. Miller. We deeply apologize for yesterday due to Tom's mishandling. We caused you great discomfort, and we sincerely apologize." The branch manager apologized deeply. Beside him, Tom, his face pale, also apologized. "Mr. Miller, I'm truly sorry for my mistake. It's a nuisance to have them making a scene at my doorstep. I'm sorry, but you're disturbing me. Please leave. If you continue to make a fuss, I'll call the police." "But Mr. Miller, we just want to show our sincerity." "Sincerity or not, as I said yesterday, cancel all 20 reserved cars. I don't want to buy from a company with such poor customer service." Tom muttered in a small voice. "Excuse me, branch manager, I still don't fully understand the situation." "You fool, listen, Mr. Miller is—" The branch manager was about to shout again, which would be a real nuisance, so I decided to speak up to silence him. After starting the farm, things were stable for a while. But after my in-laws passed away, sales started to decline steadily, putting the farm's survival at risk. Jennifer and I discussed possible solutions. Simply selling our produce wasn't enough. So, I thought about how we could make use of the misshapen vegetables that were perfectly edible but not sellable. We started processing them into vegetable juices and sweets, and also experimented with creative packaging without altering the vegetables themselves. Even though the vegetables grown on our family farm didn't look great, they tasted excellent. Initially, this was just to boost sales and recycle vegetables, but city folks found it eco-friendly and trendy. A popular model featured our vegetables on social media, and suddenly our popularity soared. High-end supermarkets in the city quickly reached out, wanting to stock our products, so we increased production. Orders grew rapidly, and we soon couldn't keep up just by supplying supermarkets, so we opened our own store. As customer demand surged, one store wasn't enough, so we opened multiple branches. Now, we also sell online, and sales are booming. In the past few years, our annual income has exceeded $1 million. While I now function more as a business owner than a farmer, I still focus on the farming itself, leaving the business operations to others. Opening several stores was chaotic, and I owe a lot to the staff who helped manage the situation. Their efforts are why we are successful today. To show my gratitude, I plan to give special bonuses in the form of cars to the team members who worked hard during our store openings. And since I wanted to buy a nice car for Jennifer as well. But after Tom's behavior, I'm no longer interested in purchasing. No way. A high school grad and farmer making over $1 million a year. Tom, already pale, looked even more shocked and frozen. We've been featured on TV and in magazines several times. Didn't you know? Well, Tom, you've always looked down on farming, so I guess you wouldn't be interested. As Tom mentioned, the dealership sales were poor, and its survival was in question. Canceling my order for 20 cars would ruin their chance to boost sales. The branch manager desperately wanted me to retract the cancellation. Tom, you understand the situation now. Show your deep apologies to Mr. Miller. I'm truly sorry. Tom is hurriedly and repeatedly apologizing. For someone who mocked and scorned me during my businessman days, this must be the ultimate humiliation. Tom, you can't take back what you said. You judged me by my appearance, education, and job, didn't you? I don't want to buy gifts for my valuable employees from a company that employs such shallow people. Even if you apologize, my decision to cancel the purchase remains unchanged. Then the branch manager said something shocking. If I fire him, will you reconsider your purchase, Mr. Miller? Wait, please, branch manager, that's too much. With poor sales performance and now causing this mess, it's better for everyone if someone like you is gone. What about me? You can't just fire me. That's unfair. I'll sue you. Tom panicked at the branch manager's sudden words. However, the branch manager wasn't fazed by Tom's threat to sue. What are you talking about? Losing a valuable customer is a far greater loss for the company. Do as you wish. Not wanting to create more of a scene at my doorstep, I asked them to leave for the day. We agreed that the branch manager and I would discuss things further on another day. A few days later, the branch manager came to my house again, bringing a box of sweets. "Mr. Miller, Tom has been terminated." He said this right at the start. According to the branch manager, when they began investigating Tom for termination, they discovered that he had been involved in a sexual harassment incident at his previous company and had resigned to take responsibility. He had told me he was headhunted, but that was a lie. He also claimed to be the top salesperson, carrying the company's reputation, which was another lie. It seemed he wanted to impress me as much as possible. When the sexual harassment issue arose, the woman involved was about to sue him, but he managed to settle it with compensation. So, when Tom threatened to sue the branch manager the other day, it was likely an empty threat, as he probably didn't have the financial means to do so anymore. Furthermore, due to this incident, his wife divorced him, and his family disowned him. Mr. Miller, I deeply apologize once again for the rudeness you experienced. Tom has been terminated, so please, could you reconsider your decision? I liked the car I planned to purchase, and I could see the branch manager's sincerity. With Tom gone, I decided to go ahead and buy the 20 cars as planned. After being fired, Tom struggled to find a new job. His pride made it difficult, as he kept seeking positions that matched his inflated self-image. One day, he came to my house, apologizing, and said, "Chris, please, I beg you. Can't you help me get my old job back? You're my only hope." "Tom, you're a college graduate and a capable person, right? You should be able to solve this yourself. As you said, I'm just a lowly high school graduate farmer. I can't help you." I dismissed him coldly. For a while, I had blamed Tom for everything, thinking that if it weren't for him, I wouldn't have had to leave my job and suffer so much. I had hated him for driving me to a mental breakdown and forcing me to leave a company I had worked at for years. But now, I no longer felt any hatred towards him. Instead, I felt pity for him. He was a shallow person who judged others solely based on appearance and education. Tom came to me several more times, pleading for help. "Enough is enough. You're disturbing me. If you come again, I'll call the police." After that, Tom never came to my house again. Tom ended up unable to hold a steady job, ran out of money, and is now living almost like a homeless person. One day, while doing day labor, he apparently dropped the lumber he was carrying. "Hey, what are you doing? You're completely useless. Don't mess with me, you low-educated guy. Don't you dare talk down to a college graduate like me." "What? A college grad? So what? Education means nothing here. You can't even carry a light piece of lumber properly. Are you even a man? Besides studying, what can you do? Well, good luck." Tom was laughed at by the other workers. What goes around comes around. Tom's scorn and mockery towards others have come back to haunt him. As for me, the employees were thrilled with the cars I purchased for them. Jennifer was also delighted with the car we bought for personal use. Seeing everyone so happy made me feel truly rewarded. It felt like all the hard work and effort had finally paid off. Seeing others smile makes me happier than anything else. It's the first time I've ridden in such a comfortable car. Jennifer said excitedly. "Jennifer, thank you so much for everything. Let's go for a drive soon and have some good food." Jennifer smiled and said, "Yes, let's." Business is going well. Sales are steadily increasing. Next, we're brainstorming with all the employees to develop products that even kids who dislike vegetables will enjoy. I never dreamed that I would live such fulfilling days. Feeling a sense of purpose in my work every day, during my time as a businessman, I finally achieved a satisfying life. This success is thanks to the support of those around me. It's not something I accomplished alone. As a farmer, I am dedicated to growing delicious vegetables. But I also want my employees to enjoy their work, drawing from my tough experiences as a businessman. I want to continue creating vegetables and a company that makes both the workers and consumers smile.